Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't think Zach saw this movie, even though
did not.
the one movie I decided to see twice. So I went into this movie excited, but kind of just like, I'm expecting a pretty fun movie. But I was very surprised that my favorite film of TIFF 2024 was Scott Beck and Brian Woods' Heretic, which is the new A24 horror movie / thriller / other things. It's like I want to talk about everything in this movie, but I do think this is one of those movies you want to go in as blind as humanly possible. I feel like there's one movie I really want to compare it to, but even comparing it to that, I feel like I spoil a good amount of the movie.
It gives you a vibe, yeah.
It does. If you're into that's the thing. It's tough. So it's A24 horror, so you know it's going to be something different. It's their probably most mainstream feeling type of horror movie, though. Don't expect a Hereditary or anything like that. This
it's
is
more
very.
It's a more on the talk to me scale, but not as visceral. It's just more. It's very accessible, but it's still very, very solid.
For sure.
Yeah.
It is. The most basic premise is Sophie Thatcher and Chloe East play these two Mormon missionaries that are just trying to spread the word of Jesus Christ, and Hugh Grant reaches out for them to come to his house and try and convert him to their religion, and that is pretty much the basis of the movie, and it goes into a lot more on the topic for sure for the next, I don't know, 90-ish minutes. I'm actually looking at the runtime. It says 110 minutes. I can't believe that.
I know, right?
This feels like a 90-minute max movie.
Yeah.
I love a movie. So usually a movie like this is very easy for it to fall on my list, but I just think Heretic does such a damn good job at executing exactly what it goes for. It almost makes me wonder if these two guys got screwed on 65, which I heard they kind of did, because
you gotta
I did not like that movie at all. But this, Hugh Grant, first of all, is incredible. I know we talked about Demi Moore maybe getting no shot at an Oscar nom, but in a world where we all want it to happen, I think Hugh Grant is just as deserving in that conversation. I think he's phenomenal in the role that he gives. The reason, this is one you have to talk spoilers after you see it, because I just feel like talking about any of it spoils part of the fun. Like, I think part of the fun is genuinely having no idea where the movie goes next, and it does such a good job at escalate. Kind of like how I was comparing it to the Shadow Strays, where each action scene just gets better. Heretic, each new development in the thing just goes like, where the fuck is this possibly going? And I love movies like that. I think it. Yeah, go for it, Zach.
Sorry, just based on the vibes and the way that it was kind of like a late night premiere and stuff, I feel like I was anticipating this being just more of like a traditional horror. But I think the thing that I was most surprised by in just hearing all of your reaction to it is how engaged you were with it, just on like on like an intellectual level.
Yeah, I think the worst thing you could say about this movie is that it probably both sides it a little bit too much, which I get that they're not trying to disrespect anybody. I do have, like, there's just issues with what certain religions choose to do that make them more than just kind of like, if it makes you happy, that's good. And I'm like, not to cause controversy, there's a lot of stuff in Mormonism that either in the past or present have been issues. They've been called out for weird purity testing and weird like interviews that they do with underage kids, all sorts of stuff. So it kind of feels weird to come out the other end.
Religion is weird.
Yeah. So it's just it does both sides it a little bit, but it's just very compelling, and it will probably at least make you think of things that you might not have before. And I love how they handled one of the characters in particular. Again, I'm not trying to spoil anything, but it's just, it does a really good job with what it's doing. It knows what it's doing. It knows what the audience is expecting. And it actually does a really good job, like, subverting a lot of it as you're going through. So I had a ton of fun. I think it's going to play very well in theaters. I think it's going to be a good time.
And I will say, I know I said I saw this movie twice, but the reason was I had a gap. And this,
you had a gap.
When there's certain movies, you want to know immediately, like, is this going to work as good the second time? Because I felt like, am I just loving this movie so much because the whole first time I had no clue where it was going? So I really wanted, if there was a movie I wanted to see again, it was this, just to see, does it still hold up when you know exactly what's coming? And for me, it absolutely did. I think there's little things even in, honestly, my biggest complaint was the opening conversation. And once you see the movie, you're like, holy shit, no, that
makes sense.
so much sense why they, like, even this corny kind of thing is here. Like, I love a well-crafted horror movie. It's not, it's not the movie that diehard horror fans are going to say is the best horror movie of the year. In a way, it's not exactly like Longlegs, but it's a horror movie like when you talk about a movie like Longlegs, where it's not really a horror movie, it's a different kind of experience. I think Heretic definitely fits in that. It's my favorite horror movie of the year for sure, and I can't wait to watch it a third time. I'm excited to take my girlfriend, my friends. It's a fun ride.
It's sick.
Yeah, I mean, look,
highly recommend it.
Even if it like just worked perfectly in your schedule, just that you had the motivation to go see it twice at the same festival speaks volumes to how good this movie hopefully will be for most people.
For sure.
But yeah, so Heretic, a solid pick at number 1.